Before we kick off our video review, we would like to make a very quick Patreon announcement. Congratulations to Carlin O'Leary for becoming a 60 Patreon Plus supporter. You have just won yourself a free Key to Freedom key tag and a 60 Degrees Acid Wash t-shirt. We can't thank you enough for supporting our channel, and we would also like to give a huge shout out to all of our current 60 Degrees Patreon supporters. All of our 60 Degrees Patreon Plus supporters will go into the running of winning great prizes for every motorcycle video review we upload to our channel as a sign of great gratitude from us here at 60 Degrees. Want to become a 60 Patreon supporter? Well, head on over to the description tab below of this video where you will find the link, or click on our little icon located at the top of the screen. There you will be directed straight to our 60 Degrees Patreon page where you will find all the necessary information to becoming a Patreon supporter. Thank you for your patience, viewers, and we hope you enjoy our video review. The Royal Enfield. Some would argue that it was one of the earliest motorcycles ever to be ridden, even before man had made the first wheel. But what we do know is one of the world's oldest and classiest motorcycle manufacturers is back with a bang. Not with a traditional bullet, but a revolutionary step towards a newly improved engine. Meet the Royal Enfield 650 Parallel Twins, the Continental GT and Interceptor. Finally, this Indian-based manufacturing company has caught up with the times of this currently backwards generation of modern-day retro hipsters. Just like my perfectly suave suit and out-of-place helmet. What makes these iconic machines stand out from their competitors? Their specs are nothing impressive. These oil and air-cooled 650 motors only produce 47 brake horsepower and 52 Newton meters at 5,250 RPM. What makes these motorcycles so impressive?
Is they're affordable. It can make a poor man look filthy rich.
Cringy yet well said. Jolly good. But it's not just the cheap price tag that makes these bikes so appealing. It's the sheer character and design that takes the cake. With great attention to detail, well-made and substantial classic looks, you can't help but admire these two motorcycles. Sure, the switch blocks can't help but looking rather bland without any electronics other than the EFI and ABS systems, but at least this manufacturer is sticking with the traditional twin-clock analog instruments that feature a separate tacho and speedometer. Now, we did find the stock standard exhaust to be a little softly spoken. However, Team Moto Euro was kind enough to lend us an aftermarket megaphone without the baffles. Very charismatic, but not ideal if you haven't already lost your hearing or your hearing aids. There are a ton of genuine accessories you can bolt onto these retro motorcycles, like engine protection guards, fork gaiters, sump guards, tall tinted fly screens and whatnot. However, if you are thinking of chucking some LEDs onto these mechanical tractors, personally you'd be committing first-degree manslaughter. You don't need to chuck any aftermarket bells and whistles on here. Sure, the aftermarket exhaust, but really that's about it. I wouldn't want to touch anything else. I love the classic look. If you chuck LED indicators on here, you've just killed it. Leave it as is. It's a beautiful bike. It's well made. And God, look at that badge. So beautiful. And the color, this orange, you just stare at it all day. Another thing I like about this is got these little bars here. So if you're tucking your knees in, you're not going to be burning your legs on the engine. The brakes perform really well. I mean, these are Brembos. You don't need to do a disc up the front. It pulls up. Easy as. Surprisingly, what you see here on this 320mm single front disc and twin pot caliper brake is in fact a Brembo, despite the name. And with its steel braided line, the front brake provides confident feedback when applied through the lever. Some could argue a more intentional bite would be nice, but in all honesty, it's not really needed. Which leads us back to the engine. The engine and throttle response is liquid smooth, but still immediate. Ideal for a rider with less experience, but still a total blast of fun. Its torque is ideally spread throughout its rev range. You just twist and go. And the gearing, the changing through the gears, It's not a clunky gearbox. You can, without any effort, and finding neutral, I haven't ridden a bike yet where you can find neutral so easily. And the rear pillion seat, there's plenty of room there. The foot pegs are nice and wide, comfortable position, knees aren't too cramped up, very relaxing, minus the exhaust being so loud. Now I know it says 200 kilometers on here, but I don't think this bike's going to do 200 kilometers, to be completely honest with you. When on the highway cruising at 100 kilometers, it is sitting around about the 4,000 RPM mark, so you're really not going to get much further than that. You might do 165, but what's the point? That's not what these bikes are about. I just love it. I love the look of it. Everything about this bike is just simple. And the best part, there's not too much plastic. I love the fact that you can see that throttle cable there. That is so cool. And we're finally steering away from a carbureted engine. It's all fuel injected. It's got ABS. What more do you need? You don't need riding modes. Why would you chuck riding modes on this? It's a 650 engine. Tacho is very simple. It doesn't have any gear indicators on here. Just how many kilometers you done. It's got a horn. A good horn at that. Fuel gauge, that's important. Amount of bikes out there that don't have a fuel gauge. Really, it's just got the important stuff, and that's all you need. Odometer, trip A, trip B. That's about it. With its gel comfort seat, wide foot pegs, and upright sitting position, you can just sit back, breathe in, and breeze away. Name change to two-wheeled lazy boys.
Alright, Royal Enfield. Listen to that exhaust. The exhaust does sound fantastic, but it is loud, to be honest. This aftermarket exhaust is straight through. I mean, listen to the burble. It is really great, but just you get over the level of volume. As Matty was saying, the brakes very good. There's not a lot of weight to this bike, so the single disc up the front is all you need.
Where are you going? I'm gonna stay here on top of the hill so people can see me.
There's not a lot to the switch gear, but the switch gear is good. It's big, easy to get to, you can find everything. Has a good turning circle. Handles very well at low speed. It's very smooth with everything. And each time you go for a gear, it's just a nice positive click straight into gear. And rum! This would probably be a perfect bike for a learner. It's not too powerful. Everything on it just does what it's supposed to do, and it's smooth. Everything is very smooth. I mean, the quality of build in this is fantastic, especially for the price. I think they're only around $6.5, $7 grand, brand new. I mean, you don't find a new bike for that price these days. You just don't. But you try and find the equivalent in a British or Japanese bike, and they're probably about 10 grand.
Sure, the Royal Enfield cheaped out on their non-adjustable 41mm Gabrielle telescopic front forks and coil-over gas charged piggyback shocks with 5-stage preload adjustment system, but that's just it. That's partly the reason why these motorcycles are so cheap. And to be quite frank, the suspension performs really well on our Australian roads.
Alright, we might pull in and jump on the GT.
The Continental GT. Now, the very first thing we picked up on between the two motorcycles was that the Interceptor comes with a center stand, and the GT does not. That's the only difference. Thanks for watching, viewers. We hope you enjoyed our video review. Hold up. Of course, there is much to be said about the GT. Although having the exact same 650 engine and frame, it's the riding experience that makes the biggest difference between the two. Climbing aboard the single-seated Continental GT, with your knees tucked snugly into the fuel tank, you are provided with a sporty feel with its lengthy reach and clip-on handlebars. Surprisingly, there is no undue weight onto your arms or shoulders, which makes it a comfortable ride. Maybe not as comfortable as the Interceptor, but it most certainly adds that recreational feel of a cafe racer. Although I would suggest to sticking away from high-speed corners, as the bike does tend to wallow when upping the pace well over 100 kilometers. Plus, by that stage, you'll already be maxed out in top gear hitting the rev limiter. It's not a nice feeling. It has the look, but doesn't quite fit the Grand Touring label.
Because they're not out to break any records or anything. They're just out to be good, nice, enjoyable rides, which is exactly what they are.
There's no foot down, nothing, just do.
Everything about these bikes is just really enjoyable. Except maybe that stand. That stand can be annoying. It's in a
Just an
wrong
awkward
place
position.
it's in the wrong place for the collector of the kickstand. The collector is in the wrong place. They're right in line with each other, and you got to kind of get under the foot peg to get to the collector of the kickstand. What I think all that is, though, it's the same kickstand they just use throughout their range, except this one, the foot pegs are in a different spot to that one.
Yeah.
That's why.
So let's wrap this up with a few specs we haven't covered yet. Wheelbase 1400mm, seat height 804 for the Interceptor and 790mm for the GT, Bosch 2-channel ABS and Bosch EMS, fuel capacity of 13.7 litres on the Interceptor and 12.5 litres on the GT. Mileage runs on a sniff. Weight, no surprise, 202 kilos and 198 for the GT. Ground clearance 174mm, which leaves more than enough room for tight cornering manoeuvrability. End result, sensational bikes, 9 out of 10. Personally, if I was looking towards fulfilling my nostalgia of retro motorcycles, the Interceptor would have to be at the top of my list. Sure, the GT delivers that little bit of fun factor through the twisties, but cruising with style and comfort is a far more of a capital idea on the Interceptor. Would you agree? Let us know in the comments section below. We'd like to give a huge shout out to Team Moto Euro. We had an absolute bully day test riding the all new Royal Enfield 650s. If you have enjoyed this video review, make sure to smash that like button and don't forget to subscribe to our official YouTube channel for more video reviews and other motorcycle related content. And as always viewers, get on your two wheels and free the soul. I bid you a good day, sir.